So Amuse is any business that provides an automated source of income. Ultimately, the end goal is to spec out what you want to do, what you want to be, what you want to have, work backwards from a target monthly income number, design a business to support that, then minimize the number of moving pieces, automate it. I think all that can be done while you still have a full-time job. And I discourage people from just cutting all ties and losing full-time income to focus on a business. You don't have to make that leap. So people tend to think in terms of employee or entrepreneur. I think that there's a broad spectrum and you can very slowly and methodically move from one to the other. And it doesn't mean that you have to end up a full-time entrepreneur. You can still keep your job. So I don't think you have to choose necessarily between one and the other.
Always start off with your local store and become a local hero. And that's how you get attention. And then you start to get people who become your local cheerleaders. You don't want to scale too quickly. You don't want to take out this big loan until you start to sell, see what works, what doesn't work, sell again, see what works, what doesn't work, sell again. And then when you have all the bugs taken out of the line, then you start to go further and further, and then you start to look for distribution.
Be consistent. Like, make sure that your brand is consistent throughout everything you touch. So not only your website, but also then if you ship out something, make sure that there's love in the packaging. Make sure that they sense there's a human being behind it. Make sure that they feel like there's a human that touched this product and they wrapped it carefully, and there's maybe real stamps on the packaging instead of just a label. Just put care into it. Customers want to feel like they're relating to other human beings that are running a business.
Learning is a dangerous concept because you can't deposit learning in the bank. Every Joe Schmo can tell a good story about how much they learned, about how their failures were a good learning experience. That doesn't count. What we need to do is prove scientifically that we are learning how to build a sustainable business. The key takeaway of the concept of validated learning is to treat everything we do as entrepreneurs as a scientific experiment designed to help us figure out if we're actually on the path to a sustainable business.
When pitching, it's very important to understand that you are pitching to somebody and what is important to you is not necessarily important to them. If you walk into a room and you say, well, I want to do a deal with you because I want to be rich and I want to change the world and do this and that, nobody could care less. Do not oversell. Take your time, hit the exact points that you need. You should be able to summarize your company on the back of a business card. If it takes you 5 hours to explain it, then I'm going to be lost, you're going to be lost, and I'm not going to know how to do the business.
You need to be able to sell. Whether it's Kickstarter, whether it's New York Times, whether it's your local newspaper, you need to be able to communicate effectively and sell. The best entrepreneurs I've ever met are all good communicators. It's perhaps one of the very few unifying factors. Practice is the only way to get better at communicating. And practicing speaking does not provide you generally with something to review later, which is why the written word is so powerful. Writing is thought crystallized on a piece of paper that can then be reviewed.
Numbers are important. I don't question that. But I do feel that we need to be able to listen to our gut a little bit more. All the really important decisions in my life, that looking back, have been gut decisions. And it's just like, it's something that I ask my children a lot, like, what does your gut say? And it's interesting just to shift her mindset to sort of like, what is my body telling me? And it's just something I think that we just need to reconnect again.
A pivot is a change in strategy without a change in vision. When entrepreneurs get into trouble, they don't just give up and go home, but neither do they kind of persevere the plane straight into the ground through stubbornness. The successful entrepreneurs did not have better ideas than the failed ones. The difference is the successful entrepreneurs had the discipline necessary to pivot when it wasn't working, to change the strategy without abandoning the whole vision.
When I created Fubu, and I partnered up with my partners, we understood that we can make the best men's apparel, but we couldn't make ladies, we couldn't make bags, we couldn't make fragrance. What did we do? We found professionals and companies that can make that. We would loan them the name and help them with the art and the DNA of the brand. They would go sell it and they would give us 6%, 7%, 10%. And that is how the brand was able to grow from 20, 30, 50 million to 350 million, because we would do 50 million in ladies, 50 million in bags, 50 million in fragrance. And that's how you scale a brand.
I apply the 80-20 principle to everything. And the 80-20 principle, in brief, means that 20% of your actions or inputs or products or services will create 80% of what you want, whatever that happens to be. So let's say 100 products that are creating 100-hour weeks. Chances are, if I did an analysis, I'd find out that 20 of those products are producing 90% of my profits, which means, hypothetically, I could cut out 80% of my products, just get rid of them, make 90% of what I'm making now, and work 20 hours a week instead of 100 hours a week. I apply that to marketing spend, I apply that to advertising, everything. And I do that on a once weekly or once every 2 weeks basis. It's very, very important.